Hello and welcome to the Damascus Encounter, that program where we share and talk about people and individuals' personal journeys in life and how they encountered Jesus. In Acts chapter 9, Paul, in his zeal for the God he knew and how much he wanted to serve, was traveling to Damascus so he could get more people imprisoned who were committed to the way of Jesus Christ. But then he encountered Jesus. On the program last week, we had Dr. Theodore Dickson, who is a lecturer at the Religious Studies Department here at Babcock University, share his story and how growing up was for him in an Adventist and Catholic background until he got baptized, how he struggled with the issue of drinking alcohol until something, Jesus, Holy Spirit, helped him to see you cannot continue like this. We continue the story today on the program, and I want to welcome Dr. Theodore Dickson. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for sharing with us, and we just cannot wait to have it all. So, taking off from where we left, you had that encounter, you decided drinking no more. So, afterwards, what was your dream actually in life? How did you tell yourself I was going to proceed from after that encounter?
Well, I would say that when it comes to profession, my father prepared me to be a lawyer. Okay. As early as 6 years, maybe 7 years, in the late 70s, early 80s. Okay, my father will come home with the Concord newspaper. You still remember Concord newspaper?
Yeah.
You know, Concord newspaper, Punch. And he would say, "Read, my son, you will be a lawyer." So I grew up getting ready to be a lawyer. And I remember as a secondary school boy, I would gather the whole of my set and teach them government, teach them history.
The students
in
class.
Secondary school, yeah, or the whole of the, in those days we don't have JS1, SS days, we had class 1,
Class 1, class 2.
So at class 5, I could teach my entire class because I had current affairs on my fingertips. So I was patterned to be a lawyer. I thought that way. But the journey towards, the journey into patent medicine was as a result of the fact that after secondary school, my dad couldn't afford university fees because he lost his job and things went, very bad. So it was out of struggle. I felt so bad, so disillusioned, and that I had to threaten him. You find me what to do, or I will cause trouble for you.
So this was more of you having, should we say, anger issues? You had problems with your temperament?
It's a problem of those you taught in class are in the university and you at home.
Okay.
What happens?
So everybody had made progress.
Everybody had made, and those you taught have gone to school, and you that taught them can't go. So I couldn't, my papers weren't complete, and I couldn't get anybody to help. That left me so frustrated. But that by 1991, my father had to take the challenge because I gave it to him. So I had tailoring and patent medicine, side by side, not knowing which one to take.
So when you said tailoring, that is, you would have gone to learn how to tailor.
Yeah,
clothes.
to sew,
and
clothing.
then the patent thing is the one I actually want you to explain, meaning that you were going to go into, being a chemist.
Chemist. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was how I almost went into tailoring. I've gotten my tape, my scissors, everything. But on a second thought, because I like design, I like, I'm perfectionist driven. So it fitted in well for me. But on the other side, I also like neatness and I like to take care of people. So I went for patent medicine and I learned for 2.5 years before I started in 1993. Okay, so it was in the course of patent medicine that I had my very last experiences that led to, that turnaround, okay, that I shared, the previous time.
Okay.
Now, as a patent medicine, it might interest you to know that I operated within a Mami market, barracks. And in the barracks, you...
Sorry, so when you say barracks, you mean like where police officers or
No, barracks, soldiers.
military personnel live?
Military barracks, I should have qualified it.
All right.
Military barracks. And it's the residential for army officers. And in every Mami market, there is an Ashawo quarters. There is a quarters for prostitutes.
Like a brothel.
Yeah, and so if you're a chemist in that kind of environment, you know that one thing that booms is abortion, all kinds of things.
STDs,
yeah,
sell drugs.
So I chose not to engage in any kind of abortion.
That is not, I will not sell drugs to anyone who, any drug that can help anyone abort a baby.
I chose not to do that.
Why is that so?
I'm not a pastor because the biblical maxim, thou shalt not kill, resounds in my head. Like I said last week, my neighbors called me church and church because I wouldn't trade going to church for anything, even though I still had my struggles. But in 1999, I was in my shop, and while I was there, I was already preparing to get married because I told myself I was going to get married in year 2000. And so by 99, towards the end of the year, I prepared my shop and I was getting ready. But something happened. One day in the shop, I heard a voice. I want you to serve me, I want you to serve me full time. And I looked around. Maybe it might interest you to know that God speaks to me audibly. I hear him audibly. I want you to serve me full time. And I looked around. I could recognize that voice wasn't, a regular voice.
Sorry, was it the first time you were hearing anything like this?
Yeah, very, very clearly, very clearly.
Okay.
And I said, but I am in this shop. And my wife, who was my fiancée that time, can't manage this shop because as a chemist, we were certified by the MIU, Military Intensive Unit, but we still had problem with the Pharmacists Association, the National Drug Law Agencies. Okay. So there is this war between chemists and the pharmacists and all of that. So my wife will not be able to contend with all of this. So I said, Lord, if you take this shop from me, I will serve you full time. It was like a dialogue.
So take the shop from me.
I will serve you full time.
Give you my...
Yeah, I will serve you full time. And it ended that way. And life continued.
So I'm sorry, just for the benefit so we can understand very well. So when you say you had this discussion, so it wasn't like, okay, after that, I came to some sort of consciousness, maybe it was like having a vision or a kind of trance, or was it, you had it, you were doing your normal thing, you knew this was God speaking, and then you finished the conversation, you moved on?
No, I didn't move on. It wasn't ordinary. It wasn't ordinary at all. I didn't move on, but the point is that, well, it might interest you to know that when you talk about Apostle Paul, they talk about the Damascus experience. I can say that from my studies today, I share temperament with Paul. So strong-willed, so determined, going all out to do, anything you are convinced about. Anything I am convinced about. So I knew that voice was there, but like I said, I don't know how to get about it. Well, take this shop and I will go. And it was just there. I knew something happened to me, but I have told you. That's my kind of person. I have said, Lord, take it. I will serve you full time. So I continued with my business, and that was so early in 2000. I started preparation for marriage, and somehow we got there by August. I had taken lease from my in-laws, and we went home to settle the things on the list, the first list, to collect the main list, the way it happens traditionally in my place.
Okay, so that is when you are told what you are to bring.
Yeah, so that they can give you the main list.
Okay.
So I went and we finished all of that. And because I was going to get married, being somebody that is quite strategic, I renovated my shop and stocked it with goods. And the intention was that for 6 months after marriage, I'm not going to go to market. So I had goods that could take me 6 months because I wanted, a good time to relax with my wife.
So business was doing well?
Very, very well. Okay. Business was doing well. So I took all the money I had, went to my in-laws, settled the first stage.
Right.
So as we returned that night, the next morning, I was sitting in my house, just on my towel, getting ready to take my bath. One of my choristers, of course I was the choir master for my church. One of my choristers, rushed in and said, "Sir, you are sitting down here. They have demolished your shop." I said, "What do you mean?" Of course, it might interest you to know that was the time, actually those who live in that area, we had a problem with the state government, the River State government, under Peter Orderly.
Okay.
Because he wanted to demolish the place, and the residents went to court to challenge that because there were certain requirements that were to be met, and then the government was saying that we don't even have the right to make such demands. So there was a decision to stay action, but on that fateful morning, the news I got was that the place has been demolished. So I jumped into my dress and got to my shop and saw that everything has been brought down. Everything has been brought down. Everything has been brought down. Luckily for me, my neighbors, because I had a good relationship with my neighbors were able to use the cartons I had in my shop to pack the drugs, how much they were able to pack. And so they begged the tractor operators to just allow this thing, that the person will come to take them. So I found grace, with them. And so I got there, was able to pack the things, and then we moved them to my house. And so the cartons went down, up, and it was just 3 weeks to our traditional marriage.
Okay, just hold it there. We'll come back and talk some more, because it looks like, take this shop from me and I will give you my full service and attention. That was Dr. Theodore's response to God, the voice that spoke to him, "I need you to serve me fully." His shop was demolished. He had to do a little bit of rescue, but the shop was gone. What happened after that? We'll come to talk about this some more after this time out. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Damascus Encounter. And of course, on the program today, we have been sharing with Pastor Theodore Dickson, who said to God, the voice he heard very audibly, "I need you to serve me fully." And he said, "Take this shop from me and I will give you my time." And that shop went out, demolished. And so, Pastor Theodore, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
So, you rescued a little bit of what you stocked up 3 weeks to your wedding,
traditional marriage,
to the traditional wedding ceremony, and then the shop was gone. So how did you move on from here?
Well, it was July 21, 2000. It cannot be forgotten very easily, even though we have gone 20 years plus.
I guess so.
Yeah. Because it was a turnaround. We moved the things, and I got home. It was a moment of decision. First, do I go get a shop? It's one thing to make a promise to God. It's another thing to keep it, because I was...
But did you remember the promise all this while?
Well, at this point...
Up until this time?
At this point, that promise didn't come.
You didn't remember?
Yes, I didn't remember. Because the point is survival. Of course, I have 3 weeks to traditional marriage, and I needed to drive it. I need to
And
get
there
ready
must be
for the
some
wedding.
source of income
There has to be
after.
money to come. So I wasn't thinking about ministry. I was looking at what do I do with myself. So I was stuck with, do I go look for a shop? If I go looking for a shop, where do I get money to pay? Because like I said, I spent all the money on me taking that list. Because the idea is sit down in the shop and in a week's time money comes back because I have the stock. So do I go get a shop? Where do I get money? Do I continue with the marriage that is the date is already fixed? How do I drive that? And for the first time in my life, I said, well, I'll get married. Let me get married, because if I suspend it, it might be until who knows when. So I put my shop on hold and chased my marriage. And for the first time, I could go borrow money. People come to me to borrow. People come. My house is a place for many, but I had to go get money. So we finished the traditional marriage, and then, it's as if God was, just listening to me. My committee of friends, my friends drove the wedding. I can say 100%.
They contributed.
It was just my suit and my wife's gown that we provided, our dress. The rest of the things, the committee of my friends, handled the rest of it. So we finished the wedding September 17, 2000. So the next thing is, what do I do? I have somebody else's daughter in my house.
And I have to take care of her.
I have to take care of her. What do I do? So, in the course of doing business, I had used typewriters and used electric sewing machine that I had alongside with my chemist. I said, and I still had a few of them in the house. I said, okay, why don't you go get some of them and then put them in front of your house? You don't need to rent a shop. So those who know you, you can talk to them about it so they come and buy. You don't need to rent a shop. So that's a good idea. I talked with my wife. I said, okay, that was just about 2 weeks or so after the wedding. I said, okay, I'll go to Lagos to go and buy. That night, I booked, I bought ticket, ready to go to Lagos by night. And then, in those days, you have to go book ahead of time.
That's
and then
for the
get
night,
ready for the
night travel.
For the night travel, yeah. So I booked and returned. And when it was about the time for me to leave, about past 6 in the evening, my new wife, called me and said, she calls me UC, say, UC, I don't want you to travel. And I said, why? She said, because I'm not feeling very well. I don't just understand the way I feel. And as a strong-willed person, to change my mind when I have made it up, it's like pulling down a city. But I was faced with reality. It's a new word for me. I just got married, and my wife is talking to me. She was pleading.
The love of your life.
So I couldn't think about it. I just took a stroll. And the Spirit said, listen to her. And that would be a hard time to change my mind. But somehow, I did. So I stayed back. I couldn't go back. I was angry anyway. I couldn't I have paid money. I couldn't get it back. So we stayed through the night. Around past 12 midnight, my wife took ill. Very badly. That we had to go to the hospital around 1 a.m. Thank God there was a community health center around us. Okay. So I took her to the community health center sometime around 2 a.m. We got there. They looked at her. I thought it was just something that they will attend to her and then we go home. It took 2 days, 3 days.
Wow.
She stayed 3 days before we returned. So on the second day, while she was on admission, I sat in front of the corridor. There was a little, chair. I sat down there all alone. I was just processing this whole thing. And the next thing I heard, the day you take this shop from me, I will serve you full time. The day you take this shop from me, I will serve you full time. And I was looking all around, who is that? The same voice I heard the previous year.
Yeah.
The day you take this shop from me, I will serve you full time.
And you remember.
It connected. I faced down. So, wow, how did I get here? Where was I going to? it was like a Jonah. Maybe worse than Jonah, because I made a promise. How did I just forget my promise? Because I was chasing survival. You know, so I bowed my head and I said, Lord, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for even attempting to go to Lagos. I'm sorry for even thinking of going to rent a shop, because I promised you. So I just waited for my wife to be discharged. So when she got discharged, I went straight in. I told her the story, of course. So one of the typewriters, I removed the typewriter and took the casing. You know, some of the casings are quite portable. Got a small portable typewriters. Yeah. So I took one of the casings and gathered that money I was going to Lagos with to buy the things. I headed straight to the conference headquarters, and that was how I submitted myself as a literature evangelist full time. So because I had to start there, because it was 15 years after secondary school. All this was about around it was 12 years then, 12 years after secondary school. So my WAEC had expired, and if I need to go to school, come to Babcock to study theology, I had to write WAEC again. And of course, I had an incomplete result then. So starting point was full-time literature ministry. So I became a literature evangelist.
So you just decided I will be a literature evangelist, so you go to the conference and they said, well, you could do this.
No, I was in the church. I knew all of that.
Okay.
Of course, well, maybe I need to say that some of my friends were already in the ministry.
Okay.
Okay, so I knew that.
So you knew what it was all about.
Yeah, I knew what it was about. As a seasoned member of my church, I knew the departments and what they do.
So literature evangelism now led you to, so you were able to make some money?
It was a starting point, you know. So I started literature ministry. Of course, I had opportunity of preaching the gospel. Wherever there is pulpit exchange or evangelisms, I was called to come and preach. So I started the ministry. And then while I was selling the books, I got some money too. You know, maybe that would be a story for another time. I had some challenges, but eventually, by 2003, I got the opportunity to come to Babcock University to study theology. Yeah.
And you did study, and you did very well in school.
By God's grace.
That's good.
By God's grace.
And so the story continues. At the end of the day, you had a PhD in, tell us about your PhD, what it's all about.
Yeah, I PhD in Old Testament.
Old Testament.
Studies, family, interest in family studies.
That's interesting. Yeah, so as you look back today, after this encounter, sometimes they say the more I serve Jesus, the sweeter it gets. So there's a song like that. I don't know exactly.
The longer I serve him, the sweeter
it gets. So looking back, any regrets turning around on that Damascus road?
There wouldn't have been a regret. In fact, you know, the song 516 SDH says, all the way my Savior leads me, what have I to ask beside? I just saw that God had a special interest in me, but circumstances choked that interest, and he watched my struggles as a little boy, the circumstance of my growth, but he still had something to do with me. Even in my struggles, he has something to do with me.
Patiently,
you know, and so he patiently guided my ways and my path until, you know, he has brought me where I am. And I can say that even as I'm talking to you, he hasn't finished with me, because I am still open, waiting to hear the next thing he wants me to do. But one thing that has happened is that because of that experience, you know, in 2000, I have chosen to let the will of God be done at any time, because I discovered he really wants to do something with me more than I understand.
Good. And every step of the way, he has been there.
He has been there. He has
Very
been
interesting.
There. And I thank God, you know, he used my wife, because every day, each time I see her, I thank her for speaking up. Because if she didn't speak up, perhaps I would have gone to Lagos.
God spoke through her.
God spoke through her, yeah.
And the children are doing well?
By God's
You have
grace.
2 kids?
No, I have 3.
3, okay.
We have 3, not I.
Okay.
You know, because in family studies, you don't talk about yourself. You talk about us. We have 2 boys and then a girl.
Okay. And they're all progressing very well in school?
Yeah, they're doing very well. You know, it's amazing to know that today the three of them are already in the university. The three.
You've come quite a long way.
Yeah, God has been gracious.
God has been good.
God has been very, very gracious.
Thank you very much, Pastor Theodore, for being on the program, sharing your story. Not too many times everyone feels comfortable to say what they have been through or what they did, but you have shared with us. And Dr. Theodore has a ministry where he mentors young people and leads them to marriage. He's conducted quite a number of weddings as a result of that ministry, meaning that God deliberately called him and chose his path. And I would like to say at this point, what is your story? How and when did you encounter Jesus? On this platform, on this program, we are there. You can share your story and encourage someone that to serve Jesus, it pays a lot. And no matter what journey you have embarked on, when Jesus steps in, he brings that turnaround. And like Paul, you will do exploits for him. That will be all on the program today. I'm glad that you were a part of it. My name is Femi Akintayo, and until next time when we come your way, I want to say stay blessed and expect your own Damascus encounter. Bye-bye.